cerebrum compared to cerebellum is much larger in the human than the sheep, for obvious reasons.
You can't see a sheep stand on one foot.
Or do calculus, or play the piano, or okay. Another comparison, if you look at the surface of the brain, okay, so these ridges are called gyri, or one is a gyrus. The grooves between them are sulci, and there's many more ridges on the human brain, many more gyri than on the sheep brain. Okay, now these ridges are they increase the surface area of the brain. You know, like if you had a flat sheet of paper and crumpled it, you could fit it into a smaller space, right? Think of all those folds after crumpling it as gyri. So you're getting more gray matter, essentially, into the cranium than if the brain was flat. Okay. If the surface was flat. But we have fewer folds or gyri on the sheep brain.
Is it darker in the grooves because of the
Blood vessels?
There's blood vessels running in there. Yeah. Okay. Now, we're going to separate the brain along the longitudinal fissure. Okay. So when at the bottom of the longitudinal fissure, we have something called the corpus callosum, which I'm tearing. Okay, but it is.
Should be close that on noodle.
See this white area? Now remember, white matter in the brain are myelinated nerve fibers. Okay, and these fibers are running transversely from one hemisphere to the other. Remember what it's called? Did I talk about this? Corpus callosum. Corpus callosum, which means a hard body. It's fairly firm, but it's a bridge, okay, of connections between the two hemispheres. On our human brain, I don't want to tug as much because I don't want to destroy this brain. But on yours, you know, you can go ahead and just with a scalpel, just make a dissection, a cut right through it. Before I do that, I want to look now. I'm looking in this area between cerebrum and cerebellum. I'm looking at what you could call the top, or let's see how the brain is like this in sheep, so it is their dorsal surface. For us, it would be posterior surface. Okay, but what do we see here? We see 1, 2, 3, 4 bumps. Y'all see those 1, 2, 3, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. They're called the corpora quadragemina, or 4 bodies. And the anterior 2 are called the superior colliculi, and the other 2 inferior, the back 2 inferior colliculi. And these colliculi, the superior, are involved with visual reflexes. For example, if you need to look at something over there, the reflexes would turn your head to the direction you need to look. The inferior colliculi are associated with auditory reflexes. You know, if you hear a loud sound, you're going to turn your head automatically. You don't have to think about it in the direction of the sound. Let's compare. Notice their superior colliculi for visual reflexes are quite large. You'll appreciate that. And you guys can all look at the human also, but you're going to have to get closer than what I can show you. And again, he's getting kind of mushy. And this little piece just came off, and I don't know what it went to. But I'll just have to tell you, we don't see as large superior colliculi as we do on the sheep. Again, you know, their visual reflexes are so important for survival. All right, so you can look at this on your own. I don't want to tear him. let's go to the ventral surface. What can we see here? I wanted to find the mammillary bodies. I also want to find the pineal gland. Let me go back to the dorsal surface. I forgot that. So I'm going to have to break down arachnoid a little bit here. The pineal gland, okay, there I see it. Just ahead of the superior colliculi, you see this little mass projecting right there. It's got some attachments around it. Kind of like a little nose poking up. You see? I don't know if you can all. I'm really ripping up this guy. Can y'all see that little bump projecting right there above the superior colliculi? So there's a little bump right there projecting above, just in front of the superior colliculi. Oh.
Poor guy.
Slippery.
Now it just went from Moodle to YouTube.
The pineal gland is what I'm trying to show you. On yours, you'll be able to see it better because you can, like I said, just make a dissection, right? A cut right down there.
Which gland is it?
Pineal. It produces the hormone melatonin, which is important for sleep-wake cycles. On this ventral surface, I was looking for the mammillary bodies, which should be, there are two little bumps, which is how they got their name, mammillary bodies, right back there. Are they obvious on our human? Yeah, I think I can just make out two bumps in there. Okay, and they're oh gosh, what are they associated with? I think, again, hearing reflexes. I need to double check that. Okay, now, so the cerebrum's kind of like the cap of a mushroom, you know, and you could call it stalk that it sits on, the brain stem. This is all brain stem. Well, this part. From about here down is brain stem. Just above the brain stem, we have the area of the diencephalon. So brain stems would start about here, going down to here, and then this area, sort of underneath the chiasm, is the diencephalon. The diencephalon is where we find the thalamus. Thalamus is a very important relay center. All sensory information coming into the brain makes a stop at the thalamus, and then the thalamus sends it out to the appropriate places in the cerebrum. Beneath the diencephalon, we have the midbrain, and this little bulge right here is called the pons, which means bridge. We actually have a lot of, it's called the cerebrospinal tracts, which carry motor impulses from brain down to spinal cord running through there. And then the rest of the brain stem is called the medulla oblongata, where we have a lot of vital reflex centers for breathing, heart, etc. On the human brain, the pons is a little bit more obvious right there. This is the medulla. Midbrain in here, diencephalon there. Let's make a cut. So I'm going to make this would be a mid-sagittal cut through the cerebrum.
Remember all these hard ones that are hard to remember.
Okay, so here we see the white is that corpus callosum on either side. That was a transverse bridge. This kind of pinkish area in here is diencephalon or thalamus. And beneath the thalamus, in this region, is the hypothalamus. Literally means below the thalamus. The hypothalamus is a real important, it's like the control center for the autonomic nervous system. And it continues as the infundibulum to the pituitary, which I tore off. Okay. Unavoidably. All right, my tip of my hemostat, I called this a forceps last week, and nobody caught me on that. This is a hemostat. We
It's
use
a
it
curved
to
Kelly hemostat.
we use